Hi, I'm Chris Hanusa, and today I'm going to talk about the Combinatorics class that I teach here at Queens College and discuss in detail the poster projects that my students create and I manage. The class is Combinatorics. The material in the class is focused on developing tools to answer counting questions. An example I like to give is covering a chessboard with dominoes. So for an 8x8 chessboard, there are 64 squares. With 32 dominoes, we can cover all the squares on the chessboard. How many ways are there to take 32 dominoes and cover the 64 squares on the chessboard? Well, one way to do it is to put all of them horizontally. Another way to do it is to put them all vertically. And we could try any other way in between. In how many ways can we do this? Do you think there's 100, 1,000, 10,000? Well, the answer is 12,988,816. How would you be able to show that this is the right answer? An oversimplified explanation is that you analyze the structure underneath the chessboard using matrices, the determinant of which gives the answer. So, in essence, we're looking for better ways to count. So, this class, which is Math 636 at Queens College, normally has about 25 students in it, and the students are either advanced undergraduates or current teachers of mathematics coming back to get their master's degree. In the class, I strive for an environment of active learning, and the culmination of the semester is an individual research project. So what I try to foster in my class is an engaging and inviting classroom. I try to include many different types of learning environments, such as think, pair, share, group work. It really helps to foster a sense of group identity, working together to understand the material, and it puts me on their side and not them against me. And another thing that I try to do is have high expectations for my students. If you shoot for the moon, then if nothing else, you'll get into outer space. All right, now let me transition to talking about the project that I have my students do. What I ask my students to do is to research a combinatorial question of their choosing and to present their findings using a poster. Throughout the semester, my students learn different techniques from combinatorics, and I want them to apply them to something that they're interested in. For most students, this is the first taste of individual research, where they have to come up with a problem and take it from initial idea all the way through to final idea and results. So what you could say is this project is the ultimate experiential learning device. It's hands-on. The students really have to do the research. They are involved in the project. What makes this project so worthwhile to me is that each of my students brings their own interests to the project, so I get to appreciate their diversity. What I ask the students to do is to summarize their results in a one-page write-up, and more importantly, to organize and convey their ideas visually in a poster. So those are the end results, but also along the way, I request status updates to make sure that everybody's on track. So I want my students to work on a project that they will be interested in and be able to focus on and be excited about and want to take ownership of, and be related to many different real-world situations. So to do that, I let the students have complete freedom in the topic. When I tell the students that they have complete freedom in choosing their project topic, then they're often very intimidated. They want more guidance than that. But I stand firm and wait for them to come to me with some initial idea. I say, no, you have to choose. And then they'll come back to me and say, well, what should I do? And I ask them, well, what's interesting to you? What do you care about outside of being at work or being at school? What do you like? What do you care about? And once they come up with some grain of an idea, once they come up with something that says, this is interesting to me, then we run with it. I help to brainstorm with them exactly a precise question that is not too hard, not too easy. We'll use techniques from our class, and this is where I'm using my experience as a researcher, so I have an idea about how hard the questions are that they're asking, and which ones are doable and which ones are interesting, which ones are not interesting. and I help them to hone the scope of their project so it's doable for who the student is, and it will be interesting. So for some recent topics, a student was really interested in running and liked running in Central Park, so he asked how many different running paths are there in Central Park. One student was interested in music and asked how many different guitar chords you could make given certain realistic restrictions on where you can put your hands. Then another student was really interested in Korean TV dramas and said, well, how many different plot lines could there be if you get to a certain event and there are multiple different ways where the event could take place? Then somebody said, well, how many different Android lock codes are there? And then there's people interested in the World Cup, and so there's been many different projects about soccer. Now that my students have a topic that they can be excited about and be invested in, then what? Well, I need to be available to address concerns, provide feedback, and give pushes in the right direction when needed. And I also need to be flexible, because this is real research. So the question that you start out with at the beginning is not always the question that you end up answering in the end. It's really important to keep the students on track. So to do that, I give them many details on my course webpage about what to expect, and I give them a timeline. On week 7, right after the first exam, I want them to come up with their topic, and then they have to revise it to make sure that we have a good problem statement. By week 9, I want them to come up with an outline about how they think they're going to approach this problem. Right before finals week, we have a poster work day. So the students bring what they have to class. I can walk around the room and give them individual advice. During finals week, the 2-hour final exam session is instead a poster session in which the students bring their assembled posters to share with the class and other attendees. I ask them to prepare a 3 to 5 minute elevator speech where they can explain the key ideas in their poster to me and to their peers. Here are some of the posters that my students have recently produced. You can see that they are inviting, engaging, and they have good content. Let me make a few comments. First, this project is an amazing way to end the semester. The students present their research and get to see the applicability of the methods of the semester to a wide variety of real-world situations. It's a great experience for everybody. I always want to get better at my teaching, so I want to ask, is there more? Can we do better? Should I aim for exposure to a wider audience? Already I invite my campus colleagues, but should there be even greater exposure? Another way to take this to a higher level is to take some of these posters and turn them into research articles, where the students will take the initial research that they've done and work with me to develop it into a publishable article. There's maybe 2 or 3 projects per semester where that is possible, but it's a lot of work. To take it, it's a lot of work. There's a lot of background research to be done, and most students don't have the time or the expertise to be able to really write a high-quality research article. But should there really be more things? I mean, this is already an amazing experience for everybody, and trying to always add more and more, I don't know if that's really a useful thing. But as always, I'm just open to your thoughts. If you have anything, please feel free to share with me. So you can find my contact information on my webpage, where you can also find plenty of posters to see the kinds of material that my students are able to do. You can also find these slides on my webpage. I want to thank the Binghamton University Center for Learning and Teaching for hosting the Institute for Student-Centered Learning Conference, which is where I first learned about the idea of including poster projects in the classroom. And I especially want to thank my students because the projects are amazing and inspiring every single time, and it's just such a great experience for everybody. So, thanks for listening, and feel free to reach out by email. Bye!